What would you do if you found a giant block of gold in the middle of nowhere? Would you share it or let greed destroy everything? This shocking story shows how far people will go for wealth and the deadly price they pay. As the man went to the bathroom, he found a shiny stone, so he went to check it out. He wiped the dust off the top with his hands. The stone was getting brighter and brighter like gold. Then the man looked at the driver in the distance. He was going to swallow it alone, but he hesitated and decided to tell the driver, "Just come here. Look at this. Come here." After the driver came to check it out, he took out a gun. He just saw him burning the stone. The stone was getting brighter and brighter, and there was a sign of melting. At this time, the two were excited. There was such a big pie in the sky. This is enough for them to eat and drink for a few lifetimes. So the two of them started digging. Soon they dug a big pit 10 meters deep. What surprised them was that the gold was getting bigger and bigger, and it was still missing. The two of them used all their strength to eat and drink, but they couldn't get the gold out. They were also buried in the ground. So they tried other methods. They just saw the man tying the rope on the gold, and the other end of the rope was tied to the truck. The driver wanted to drive to drag the gold, but the rope broke twice and the gold didn't move. The two of them looked at each other. They could only look at the gold in front of them. It was getting dark. The two of them picked up the firewood and set it on fire. When they thought that there was gold under their asses, the man was excited and raised his hand. He could think of how they could take the gold and make up for it. The driver said that the two of them would split up. One person looked at the gold here, and the other person went to the town to find the excavator. The driver said that he had a lot of survival skills in the wild, so he stayed to guard the gold, and the man went to the town to find the excavator. But the man at this time didn't believe his companion. He wouldn't give up the beautiful red hand in front of him. "I think I'll stay with the gold." Sure, the driver had no choice but to promise him. So the next day, the two of them distributed the food and water, and the driver threw the phone to the man. "When I get back, we'll be rich as all hell." After saying that, the driver drove away. After the driver left, the man immediately covered the gold with sand, and he made a shed with a bedsheet. The man stayed by the gold all day. At this time, a scorpion crawled over. The man was afraid that the scorpion would damage the gold, so he took out a wooden stick and drove the scorpion away. At night, he set fire again, but at this time, there was a scream from afar. The man was scared and trembling. He drank a little wine out of fear. After eating and drinking, the man fell asleep. In this way, the man spent the first night here alone. The next day, when the man was on the phone, the satellite phone rang. At this time, the man didn't even have time to put on his pants. He hurried to the direction of the phone, but as soon as he picked up the phone, there was no sound. This made the man very confused, but looking at the gold in front of him, he thought it was all worth it. So the man got up again. Then he went to find the firewood for the night. But at this time, the man suddenly found a bright light in the distance. In order to avoid the gold being discovered, he picked up the stone and covered the gold with sand. Then he walked towards the bright light. When he walked in, he found that there was an old plane. The man looked around carefully. This place can be used as a shelter, but when he thought about it, it was too far from the gold. If the gold was stolen, he would be in trouble. So the man began to dismantle it. He worked hard to move the demolished things back to where the gold was. He built a simple house. Then the man came to the gold. He used all his strength to finally smash a piece of gold. At this time, the driver also called. The man thought the driver had found the excavator and was ready to come back, but the driver told him that the car had a problem. He needed a few more days to come back. So he told the driver the news of smashing the gold. But the driver thought it was too little. He wanted to dig out a bigger piece of gold, but it was too late. The firewood nearby had been cut by the man. If there was no firewood, there was no way to drive away the hunting dogs nearby. So he had to keep looking for it with his head. But as soon as he walked out of the beautiful scenery, the cowardly man was scared by the sound of dog barking. He had no choice but to go back to the fire and stay up all night. But the night was so long that it was like a day. The next day, the man went to the abandoned plane to move the gold. But at this time, he suddenly saw a woman walking around here. The man was so scared that he quickly hid. He quickly put the gold in his backpack. But the woman still found him. The woman saw his tension. Then the woman gave him a pot of water, but he was refused by the man. At this time, the woman deliberately picked up the pot of water and drank it. She kept making the sound of gurgling. This made the man in front of her anxious. Then the woman told the man that there was a big puddle 5 kilometers away, but the man would rather be choked to death than leave this land. This made the woman more confused. So the woman followed the man all the way and couldn't get rid of him. "Are you hiding from something?" "Number." "Are you hiding from the law?" "Number." The woman's question instantly made the man angry. "There's nothing more to it, okay? Fuck off. I think you're lying." Then the woman followed the man to his camp. "I think you're hiding something. You're a lying little swine. I think you came through here with someone and hatched a weird plan. A bunch of greedy little pigs." It was about to be exposed. The man picked up the iron shovel and swung it directly at the woman. He immediately sent the woman to the west. He was afraid that the man would dig a deep pit and bury the woman's body. Then he took the woman's food and water. He could hold on for 2 more days after he was full, but when he was resting, he found a dog eating the woman's body in the distance. The dog took out the woman's body with its smell of blood. The man picked up the iron shovel and wanted to drive the dog away, but the group of dogs surrounded him. They stood in the distance like they were waiting for an opportunity. It seemed that the man was useless, so he went to look for some firewood. At night, he began to burn the woman's body. The next day, the man was still waiting for the driver's arrival. Although the man was seriously injured, he was still reluctant to leave. Then he got a call from the driver. When he asked when the driver driver would come. The driver said he had found the excavator, but the pipe was broken and needed to be repaired. But at this time, he suddenly saw a car coming from afar. The man wanted to call for help, but he thought that the gold in his hand would be divided in half. He had to watch the car get further and further away from him, but the pipe had been eaten up, and almost no one was left. At this time, a snake suddenly crawled over. The man didn't care about 3,721 and picked up the guy and rushed up. But not only did the snake not catch the last bottle of water, but it was also overturned. This made the man very angry. What was more unfortunate was that a sandstorm broke out in the middle of the desert. The sandstorm was about to hit him. The man quickly hid in the tent, but because the wind was too strong, the tent was directly overturned. The man was crushed by the trees. I don't know how long it took for the man to wake up from the pile of soil. When he woke up, he found a 1-meter long branch stuck in his abdomen. But even so, he still dragged his heavy body to the side of the gold bar. Checked to see if the gold bar is still there. He used all his strength to pull out the pile of sand. When he touched the gold, he lay down in peace. After a break, the man pulled out the wooden stick stuck in his abdomen. Then he lit the fire. He took out the cap of the can and burned it in the fire. It was used to stop the blood in the wound. At this time, the man was in so much pain that he passed out. In his dream, he seemed to have seen the man he killed. The woman was facing him with a bow and arrow. Could it be that the woman came back to seek revenge? In the man's panic, he seemed to see the woman again. He turned to him slowly with a fire in his eyes. "Listen, there's a water hole. I can walk you there. Go." Just as the woman was about to leave, he asked the man if he had seen his twin sister. At this time, the man realized that this person was the woman he had killed yesterday. Fortunately, he burned her body. After the woman left, the man went to sleep in peace. But when he woke up, he found a fire around him. I don't know if it was a kind woman who took the money and lit it for him. It was used to drive away the hunting dogs. But now the fire has been used up and the fire has been extinguished. However, the long-awaited hunting dogs can finally eat a meal. A group of hunting dogs slowly came to the man. One of the hunting dogs tried to attack him. The man couldn't resist. A group of hunting dogs attacked him. "Get the fuck out of here!" The man was about to be surrounded by bad dogs, so he became a prey for the hunting dogs, but who knew that there was a pair of eyes staring at him from afar? He stared at the man who was devoured by the hunting dogs and didn't rush to save him. This man is his companion, the driver. It turned out that the driver had arrived here 2 days ago, just because he wanted to eat alone. So he stared at the man and was finally bitten to death by the hunting dogs. Then the driver drove the excavator to the side of the gold block. When he was about to shoot, he was shot directly by a bow and arrow. He died next to the man. Because of his greed, they both died in the end. In fact, in reality, there are many people who do everything for profit.